everyone, welcome to Sosin IAS Academy.
Hello everyone.
In this session, we are going to discuss the detailed analysis of Union Budget for the financial year 26 to 27.
Hello
In
everyone.
this discussion,
Welcome to
we
Sosin
will
IAS Academy.
discuss
Hello everyone.
in
this
the
session,
important
we are going to discuss
of
the detailed
key economic
analysis
indicators,
of Union Budget
GDP growth,
for the
inflation,
financial year
we'll discuss
26 to 27.
allocation.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Sosin IAS Academy. Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to discuss the detailed analysis of
the budget aspects like that of foreign exchange reserves, balance of payments, fiscal deficit targets, the finance commission. We are going to discuss and cover the entire budget, the themes of budget, trends in a very comprehensive way. So, I welcome you all to the discussion. Let us start our discussion of the budget. First, we need to understand the basic things when we want to first get to know the details of the budget. We know that budget, the term, is not present in the constitution. Obviously, we are not discussing the polity aspects of the budget, but we need to know that it is mentioned as annual financial statement under Article 112 of the Indian Constitution. The budget is presented every year on the 1st of February. As a part of budget, there will be presentation of the budget, there will be general discussion of the budget, and the budget will be sent to the parliamentary committees for discussion. Then, after the discussion and recommendations by the departmentally related standing committees regarding the allocation, regarding the ministries, regarding the rationality of money in allocation of the budgets, the changes in the budgets recommended by the parliamentary committees, everything is taken into consideration, and ministries will put the budget for the voting. Then after the voting will happen, then there will be budget that will be passed. And for the passage of the budget, first there will be appropriation bill. Then there will be finance bill. Appropriation bill is where the money will be taken from the consolidated fund of India in order to spend money for different variety of schemes that were allocated in the budget for a particular schemes which were announced by the finance ministry, or every ministry will try to float their own quota of expenditure for the schemes that they are running. For all these, every ministry will try to voice out their own concerns. And all these will be passed through appropriation bill. Appropriation is an expenditure side of the thing. Then next, in order to do that expenditure, there needs to be revenue. And for that revenue to happen, the government need to collect the taxes. But government will collect the taxes only through the approval of Parliament. Parliament will discuss the taxes, and in that there will be introduction of financial bill where there will be tax reforms, tax slabs, or changes in the income tax act. There will be direct taxes, indirect taxes, there will be discussion about GST, tax slabs, etc. Then there will be passage of appropriation bill. So there are two sources that are created. One is revenue, another is expenditure, in order to fulfill the objectives of the budget. What are the objectives of a budget? Budget is something, it's an annual financial document which is presented by the government for a particular financial year. How much expenditure is going on and what will finance that expenditure. This is what basically the budget is, how much savings we have, how much borrowings we take, and whether that borrowings are within the limits. what is the fiscal health of the states as well as the center. All these features were discussed in the budget. Okay, so these are certain basics of the budget that we need to know first in order to understand the details in a slow manner. Apart from that, we need to understand the budget deals with actual receipts and expenditure of previous financial year. Actual receipts and expenditure. Receipts means they are revenue receipts. In revenue receipts, there will be tax receipts, which is the revenue that is collected by the government in the form of taxes and also in the form of non-taxes like disinvestments or the fees that the government collect without the word tax. There will be no tax in that. So other kind of revenues which are not taxes are non-tax revenues. So actual receipts and expenditure on the previous year. Previous year means 24 to 25. That is when the budget will be revised, and by the present year. By the present year means 25 to 26. In the next financial year means financial year 26 to 27. So this is what we need to analyze. Right now, what we are having is financial year 25 to 26. What is the financial year? April 1st to March 31st is a financial year. April 1st did not come yet. So the present financial year that we have is 25 to 26. And whatever the budget estimates we have done exactly at the time of 25 to 26 were revised now. Now we know what actually happened. Now we know exactly what borrowings we have predicted. Are they really into the pockets of the government or not? So they are revised. Okay. After 1 year, we will actually get to know what is the actual situation of a particular finance year. That is when we call actuals. So right now in the present year, we will get the actuals of 24 to 25. That is previous financial year 24 to 25. Then revised estimates of present financial year, because in 25 to 26 we put budget estimates. Now again we are doing the budget estimates of receipts and expenditure of the coming financial year, that is financial year 26 and 27. So these are certain basics, certain nuances you need to know. So what is the financial year right now? 26 to 27 that we are going to discuss the budget for the coming financial year. Right now it is 25 to 26, but it is almost done. So we are going to discuss the budget for the financial year 26 to 27. Okay. So who prepares the budget? It is prepared by the Budget Division, Department of Economic Affairs, under the Finance Ministry, under Article 112, Annual Financial Statement. Okay. Then there will be 2 bills that are to be passed at the end of the session. One is finance bill, another one is appropriation bill that we have discussed. Okay, finance bill talks about the revenue side of the budget. Appropriation bill talks about expenditure side of the budget that needs to be passed by the parliament. And the other basics what we need to know is budget is presented in 3 broad heads. One is consolidated fund, contingency fund and public account fund. So these are the 3 funds that basically had money where the government can spend on particular schemes, on contingency plans under Disaster Management Act. Okay, so most of the schemes, whatever the government is proposing under different ministries, all the money whatever government is collecting in the form of taxes will go to which fund? Consolidated fund, right? And in that, from that consolidated fund, the money will get passed under appropriation bill, and the money will be taken by the ministry after the passage of the appropriation and financial bill. The ministries will take the funds from Consolidated Fund of India. And for the contingency situations, there will be corpus under Disaster Management Act till 2021 the corpus is just around 500 crore. From 2021 to till now the corpus is, from 2021 the corpus is fixed, that is 30,000 crore. It means whenever there is a situation, whenever there is contingency situation, whether it is the disaster emergency or financial emergency, there will be reserve fund that is kept aside. And there are lot many disasters, but we are using the funds because we already had the extra surplus, but we are not using from the corpus. When we don't have, we use the money from the corpus account. That is what the purpose of corpus fund is. In the contingency it is taken, and it is under the control of the president, and there should be parliamentary approval to take money. Even from the consolidated fund, there should be parliamentary approval. That is what is appropriation bill. Okay, then the third one is public account fund. In this, what will be there? Government can take money from this fund in order to finance their some of the schemes. Okay, but parliamentary approval is not needed because it's people's money, where people trusted the government and they have invested in the government funds, where in the form of like small savings account, provident fund account, where people will try to save in the government post office savings account, like that, and government will manage it. It is on the sole responsibility of government to use the fund in whichever way it need, but whenever people demand money on the maturity, government has the onus to pay that money. There is no requirement of parliamentary approval or president approval for this public account fund, but still government can use the money from the public account of India. So budget and the contents in the budget basically use funds from these three accounts. That is, these are the basics that we need to know. Okay, so basically public account fund is dealt under Article 266. Money held by the government in provident fund, small savings, post office deposits. Money set aside for the specific purpose. Central and Road Infrastructure Fund, PM Swasthya Suraksha Nidhi, Prarambhik Shiksha Kosh, Madhyamik Uchitar Shiksha Kosh, and National Disaster Response Fund. So basically, government is actually funding these programs using the money that is present in the public account fund of India, and it is also maintaining this certain funds as a part of public account fund of India. You need to remember Central Road Infrastructure Fund, Swasthya Suraksha Nidhi, Prarambhik Shiksha Kosh. It is related to education. Swasthya Suraksha Nidhi is related to medical and health emergency fund. Then Madhyamik Uchitar Shiksha, that is related to higher education and secondary education and also higher education. Then National Disaster Responsive Force, which is responsive fund, which is formed under Disaster Management Act. All these are maintained here. So parliamentary approval is not needed. So it is not needed for trusted money, and it is needed for specific purpose money. It means for a specific purpose, if the money is diverted into some other funds, for that parliamentary approval is needed. But in most of the cases, it is not required for the government to take parliamentary approval. So these are certain basic aspects of the budget that anyone need to know before starting the analysis of the budget. So what are the main priorities of budget? Every year, government, when it is presenting the budget, it talks about the main priorities. Here in 2020, 26 to 27, the main priorities of budget are it is divided into three kartavya. It means three duties. What are the three duties of the government? Basically, every budget now from past few years talk about inclusive growth, development. Talks about this particular year budget talks about one second. So this year budget basically talks about youth focused development. It talks about the use of demographic dividend. It highlights about inclusive growth. These are the primary concerns of the present budget. In whichever scheme we take, the main focus areas are manufacturing, to create employment, to upskill, to use the demographic dividend in a better way, and to promote inclusive growth. These are the main aspects of the current year budget. And we know that Indian economy is basically in the Goldilocks zone as presented by the government and RBI in the December 2025. What is Goldilocks zone? Where there is growth in the economy, sustained growth rate, good growth rate in the Indian economy compared to other countries in the world, and there is low inflation also, and the inflation is less than 2%, that is 1.7%. Now it is less than 1.7% also. So low inflation and growth, these are once upon a time, these are two contrasting things. We know that as we studied the basic aspects of economy, when there is growth, there will be inflation. These are two dichotomies. These are called as dual dilemma, because whenever there is GDP growth, whenever the growth is propelled by manufacturing or consumption, there will be more demand. Demand can sometimes lead to supply and demand mismatches. There can be inflation in the economy. Inflation is good, but inflation should be the moderate inflation, plus or minus, plus 4 plus or minus 2. This is what the Monetary Policy Committee has set for us. But it is less than 2. It means very low inflation is there, good growth rate is there, which is the good moment for Indian economy. Especially this Goldilocks zone is coming at the time when the world economy is very volatile, when there is huge supply chain disruption in the world. When all other economies are not performing well, it is India that is performing well. It is the largest and fastest growing economy in the world, 4th largest and fastest growing economy in the world. But that does not mean everything is good in India. It means with respect to Indian economic indicators, Indian growth economic indicators or Indian economy, there are certain factors where there are certain problems which the economy is facing. First problem is not able to use the demographic dividend properly. We have good median age population. We have good scope to utilize this population. But there are problems of more imports. Always we see that in the balance of payment, there is current account deficit. And most of this current account deficit is coming from where? From the trade deficit. It means we import more oil. We import more from the agriculture side also. We import more industry related products as well. And we assemble here and send the final products to other countries. Our exports are not so huge. In the exports, only services sector exports are huge, but manufacturing itself is less. Manufacturing exports are also less. That is what is contributing to current account deficit, right? And there is problem of what? There is a problem of unemployment also in the country. If we see from the past few years, unemployment is going up. But if we see last 2 years, unemployment is around 7%, which is stable. It means it is not declining or it is not going worst. But that does not mean we should not pay attention to this kind of important aspects of the economy just because it is in the Goldilocks zone. What the economic survey, which is presented few days before, is telling as well is we need to utilize this movement, and this movement utilization will only happen when government takes certain efforts in order to propel growth manufacturing, in order to, while actually focusing on creating more employment. This is what the economic survey and even budget is also trying to do. Especially this all things are coming up not just individually. Individually, domestically, economy is growing. This is the basic idea that we need to capture by seeing the trends. Basically, the economy is growing. And our economy is not just led by exports, just like China or some other countries. It is not totally dependent on exports. Okay, though exports are less in our country, imports are more in our country. There is domestic consumption. Where this domestic consumption is coming from? From the people, from the demographic dividend, which is a good factor, consumption-led growth. We are studying from the last 10 to 20 years, there is more consumption-led growth. When there is consumption-led growth, when there is lot of middle class buying goods, there is lot of way for foreign investments to come into the country in the form of FDI, FII. Lot of people find India as the market. That is why there will be lot of investments. So internal factors are driving our growth, but that does not mean that we should not focus on our exports. So we should focus on self-reliance. We need to focus on self-reliance. Excessive dependence is not good, especially in the world where there is lot of supply chain disruptions, where there is trade wars, there are a lot of tariffs, there is unpredictability in the global economic situation. And economic survey and budget basically try to allocate funds and money for the sectors where the government feels there should be self-reliance, where the government feels that there should be employment. For example, the government allocating lot of money for labor-intensive industrial sectors. The government trying to propel more growth in the MSMEs by creating separate funds, daughter funds, allocating funds for MSMEs to propel their growth like 10,000 crore in order to encourage trade, receivables, in order to make MSMEs get a lot of capital inflow. So basic idea of allocation of money, whether it is related to schemes, whether it is related to people, all these coming from the idea of keeping the world economy into the mind. Okay, and having said that, the focus entirely is on employment, youth, and also having self-reliance, and also what kind of growth that economy wanted. The government or the economic survey basically tells that we need to have growth. The growth should be much more, and it should be sustainable for the next few years till we achieve Vikasit Bharat, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas by the year of 2047. That is 100 years for India to achieve its independence. Yeah. So in order to do that, the growth should be the main factor. While achieving the growth, government need to focus on inclusive development also. And here economic survey is focusing that inclusive economic survey and budget for that matter, they wanted to focus on equal development for all people. The development should not only come from specific regions. What we study about inclusive growth is it should come from different sections of society. It should come from different regions of different states. There should be all equal regional development. That is what we talk about inclusive development means. But it should come from every household. Every household need to be part of the inclusive growth in the economy. Here, there can be aspects of per capita GDP, per capita income of the people. Okay? And there should be quality development that should be coming from. And quality development and every household need to be part of this inclusive development. That is what is the focus of last year budget and this year budget also for that matter. So these are the situations around which we are seeing the present budget in a nutshell. So there are 3 duties according to what the union budget says. What are these 3 duties? In 2026 to 27, the 3 duties are accelerate and sustain economic growth along with building resilience to volatile global dynamics, fulfill aspirations of our people and build their capacity. It means capacity building, capabilities or accessibility for these people in the growth, and ensure that every family, community, region and sector has access to resources, amenities and opportunities. So there should be growth that is coming from all people, and people need to be part of this growth, and there should be sustained growth, and this is what the inclusive growth is. Okay. So these are the 3 duties. So government is basically highlighting that there should be accessibility in making people get resources, and there should be quality of resources that should be provided. That includes inclusive growth. That is what is inclusive growth. Inclusive growth does not mean growth is coming from different states. It should come from every household in every district, every rural area, every region. And there should be opportunities, and opportunity should be utilized by the people. Affordability and quality of resources need to be given, and the growth overall need to be sustainable, and it should be continuing. Okay, so basically it is talking about Vikasit Bharat, Sabka Saath and Sabka Vikas goal, and this Vikasit Bharat itself will signify that there should be inclusive growth. Inclusive growth is basically the main aim of Vikasit Bharat. Okay, so these are the 3 basic aims or duties of the budget. Then the first topic in the budget we are discussing is Finance Commission. In the budget speech itself, government have accepted the 16th Finance Commission grants. 16th Finance Commission is headed by Aravind Panagaria. Okay, and the Finance Commission provides the recommendations for the year financial year 27 to 31. Okay, so Finance Commission basically have done lot of changes in the tax devolution and also the criteria in the devolution of money to different states. Okay, so the Finance Commission have accepted the recommendations in the present budget. That is why it is important for us to know what are the changes that are done in the 16th Finance Commission compared to 15th Finance Commission. It is very important to know. So let us start from this topic, and we will go to different sectors later. Okay, and this is where most of the people miss the part of the budget. So here 15th Finance Commission has done the vertical devolution. Vertical devolution means what? Giving the money, whatever the taxes in the form of GST that the center collected, allocating that money to the states. And how much vertical devolution? 41%. It means out of 100 rupees, 41 rupees will be given by the center to the states out of whatever the taxes they have collected, because state will get less taxes. Okay, and the states need to spend more on the different kind of schemes because they have more responsibility than that of the center, but they have very less tax resources, and there is a lot of complaint between the southern Indian states and northern Indian states. Southern Indian states are developed states, they promote manufacturing, they promote a lot of growth, they do the population policies, but they are at the receiving end from the Finance Commission because they are very progressive, and the criteria which the Finance Commission is using till now, they are not in accordance with the incentives that the southern Indian states have done. It means not encouraging the good reform measures, and there are a lot of deliberations that are done during the 15th Finance Commission also to devolve more funds to the southern states which are more developed. So here what 15th Finance Commission is doing is, it is directly revamping the entire criteria. This is what you need to know presently here. Here in the 15th Finance Commission in 21 to 26, in 15th Finance Commission 21 to 26 and 16th Finance Commission, there are changes. Income distance is the criteria, population is the criteria, demographic performance, area, forest, tax and fiscal efforts, contribution to the GDP. These are the 7 criteria on which the government wanted to give the funds. Okay, sorry, Finance Commission wanted to devolve the funds for different states. What are the funds? In this 41 rupees which states need to get, how much? That is what is horizontal devolution. It is talking about how the taxes need to be distributed not just to the state but across the states, which is called as horizontal devolution of funds. Here in the 15th Finance Commission, it is talking that 45% of income distance, 15% of population for undertaking population, whatever the population that the state has, 15% will be allocated to how much population a state has. Suppose a particular state has more population, they'll get more funds. It is like that. But what 16th Finance Commission have done, the population has been increased to 17.5%. The criteria, demographic performance, which means the demographic performance means which states have actually implemented the population policies. For that states there should be incentive given. Before it is 12.5%, now it is 10%. Here the population, it is earlier 15%, now it is 17.5%. Income distance, it means the highest states which have more GDP, the first 3 highest states which have larger population and have more GDP, when they are compared with the average GDP or per capita income of all the people in the country, then there will be certain amount that will be derived out of it, and the income distance of a state to the average GDP will come into picture. So whatever the difference is, that need to be allocated to the percentage of 45. Now the 16th Finance Commission has decreased it to 42.5. So basically there is change in the percentage. Here 45 to 42.5, population has increased from 2011 to 2021. Census is yet going on, 15 to 17.5%. Demographic performance 12.5 to 10%. Area have also declined. Forest have also declined. Forest, how much forest is there? Based on that, allocation is done, and it is same before in the 15th Finance Commission and also in the 16th Finance Commission. Tax and fiscal efforts. This is the new criteria that has been involved. Sorry, the tax and fiscal efforts that is there before, it is 2.5% weightage is given for all the states to do certain reforms in order to have good taxation and fiscal consolidation efforts. But here there is no criteria for it. contribution to the GDP. It means in order to assuage the demands of South states that they are contributing more to the GDP, but because of GST they are at the loss, because the GST states are the ones which will receive more taxes based on consumption, but producer states are the ones which are the southern states that are producing more. Consumption states are moreover not that producing, but they are providing incentives for the people to produce or industries to produce more, but they are not receiving because GST is based on the consumption tax, consumption structure. GST is levied at the end of the consumption while buying. Okay, so because of this, contribution to the GDP is added. That is the new criteria, which is 10%. Okay, so total these are the changes. So what are the changes? Taxes and fiscal efforts is removed from 15th Finance Commission. Contribution to the GDP is the new criteria that has been introduced, and there are other changes that are brought in. One is revenue deficit grants. Revenue deficit grants, that used to be one more criteria in order to provide revenue deficit, in order to provide grants in aid to certain states. Finance Commission not just provide a policy for the government in order to devolve the taxes, but also gives grants in aid. Okay, for the rural bodies, for certain states like northeastern states, for hilly states like that. Now, there used to be revenue deficit grants as a separate criteria that has been removed. Okay, then there used to be state specific grants also. State specific grants, sector specific grants, all these are the other different type of grants that were removed by the 16th Finance Commission. 16th Finance Commission will only give two types of grants. What are the grants? One is performance grants and the basic grants. Basic grants, and what these basic grants are for? Basic grants will be for only local bodies. It means grants in aid will be dictated for every state based on how panchayats are, how they are constituted, whether there is any state election commission, whether there is any state finance commission, whether they are functioning properly or not. For every panchayat there will be basic allocation. For the performance of panchayats, urban and rural local bodies, there will be 20% allocation within the grants only. Okay, so the grants will be entirely revolving not on the revenue deficit of a state, but it will be revolving around the performance of panchayat, and for every panchayat there is no state specific grants in aid, or there is no revenue deficit in the grants in aid. Revenue deficit criteria for grants in aid. Grants in aid is only given for local bodies, and only, second one is only for the states which are facing the disasters. Okay, for disaster management, and only for the local areas, rural and urban panchayat institutions. For this grants are given, and these grants in aid are based on basic performance, basic constitution of panchayats in every district. For every state it will be given, and 80% it will be same for basic criteria. 20% it will be linked to how reforms are undertaken by the panchayats. For example, solid waste management, water supply. Based on this, the panchayats will get performance grants. Okay, that can vary. So these are the grants. So total grants in aid for the 5 years, how much the Finance Commission is allocating is nearly 9.47 lakh crore. Local governments will take 7 lakh 91, nearly 8 lakh crores divided between urban and rural body for the period of this financial year 27 to 31. Okay, so condition to receive grants will be basic criteria. They need to have constitution. First of all, there should be proper functioning of local bodies. They should have audited accounts. They should have state finance commission in the place. Then they will get the grants, every state. So there is no revenue deficit grants. Okay, that is what the first thing we need to remember. There is no revenue deficit grants, state specific grants or sector specific grants. There will be only grants for local bodies and for disaster management funding. And in out of 9.47 lakh crore, there will be 2 lakh crore for 2 lakh crore nearly for the disaster management, because climate change is also in the consideration of the budget. Especially at the end of the budget, we will see carbon capture, utilization and storage also. So 90:10 for the northeast and Himalayan state out of this allocation, and 75:25 for the other states. And in the Finance Commission have outlined that there will be new kind of, there are under the disasters, along with the old classical disasters, new disasters like heat waves and lightning, all these are also introduced. So central government will give the funding, okay, out of this Finance Commission grants. And apart from that, the Finance Commission also asks the states to follow the fiscal discipline. So even in the economic survey, it has been highlighted that states are borrowing much more. And if we see from the past few years, from the last few years, especially after the pandemic, the central government purchasing capacity during the time of central government borrowing more from the market has increased. The deficit, the fiscal deficit has gone up to 6%. But after that, over a period of time, it has declined, and it has, in the present budget, it has been estimated that the fiscal deficit will be around 4.3% of the GDP. Right now it is 4.4. In the coming financial year, it is to be estimated that there will be 4.3% of the fiscal deficit. What is the fiscal deficit? When there is total more expenditure than that of revenue, where this expenditure will be financed from the borrowings, that is a deficit, right? So the fiscal deficit need to be in the certain limits according to FRBM Act that we already know, which is passed in 2003. But the states, what they do is they are borrowing more and more. They can't basically manage their fiscal discipline, because they are breaching more. The targets that are set up by the FRBM Act. Right now, the targets which are set for the states are 3% of the GDP, state gross domestic product. For the central, it is 3.5% according to FRBM Act. The center need to achieve by the year 2031, even according to Finance Commission, that we need to have achieved this FRBM target of 3.5 for the center by 2031, and for the states it is to be 3%. But almost all the states give unconditional or free cash transfers. Economic survey is very critical regarding Bihar giving free cash transfers for the people without any preconditions, which will erode the fiscal discipline of the states. It is for populist policies. And one more thing which is highlighted in both these documents is it is actually affecting the investment in the country, because investors, whether it is foreign portfolio investors or foreign institutional investors, how they allocate money or how we get FDI or FII inflows is through credit rating of the government or performance of governments. It is not just central government. If it is maintaining the physical targets, all the financial fiscal health of the India is good. It is also the states that need to follow the fiscal discipline, because they are the ones who are running the errands in the ground, where they are managing the people, where they are managing the GDP, per capita income, etc. So it is always the state's performance that is also seen. So it is, the Finance Commission is very critical about states' fiscal discipline, and that is the main focus even in the economic survey. So local body grants were given big push. Okay, so because we are already talking about inclusive growth, the growth should be coming from the grassroots. Then we have already discussed it regarding disaster management funding. So this is related to Finance Commission recommendations and the changes in the criteria. So the government has accepted the recommendations that there should be vertical devolution of 41%, and for this there is provision of 1.4 lakh crore to the states. This include rural, local body and disaster management grants. Which are of for the period of 5 years, which are of 9 lakh crore, 9.4 lakh crore, like that. Fiscal consolidation. So Finance Commission also is talking about fiscal consolidation, and even the budget is talking the same, budget 26-27. So central government debt to GDP. Debt to GDP means from the past so many years till now, from the time that we exist as governments, or from the time our finances are running, country is running, whatever the debt we have, that is debt to GDP ratio. What is fiscal deficit? In the present year, how much percentage debt we have in the present fiscal year, that is what is fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit basically talks about the present year. Debt to GDP totally talks about how much debt till now which we had, including the previous borrowings, including the previous liabilities like interest payments, whatever we need to do, how much debt we have till now, the country had till now, is what debt to GDP is. So debt to GDP is right now 56.1% right now, and the revised estimates of 25 to 26. So what we need to have, and it is estimated to be 55.6, but the central government is targeting that there should be 50 plus or minus 1. 50% debt to GDP ratio is the target by 2030. This is the target for the central government. Okay. In the revised estimates 25 to 26, fiscal deficit has been estimated at par with budget estimates, that is at 4.4%. Okay. So right now in 26 to 27, it is estimated to be 4.3%. But what we need to have? 3.5% by the year 2030. This is the target for 2030. Right now what we have is 4.4. What we estimate for the present, for the upcoming financial year 26 to 27 is 4.3% fiscal deficit. So this is a basic idea regarding debt to GDP ratio. Fiscal deficit, very, very important for the prelims exam. Okay. Then we have the basic figures regarding the budget estimates, that is receipts and expenditure. Non-debt receipts are 36.5 lakh crore. Revenue receipts consists of tax receipts and non-tax receipts. And that are non-debt. Tax and non-tax, they are not having any liabilities, but capital receipts might have liabilities. Okay. Revenue receipts will not have liabilities, because all the receipts are coming from tax and non-tax revenues. But the capital receipts can be coming from borrowings also. Okay. This is important. So the budget consists of expenditure side and also the revenue side. So central net tax receipts, how much it is? 28.7 lakh crore. Okay. So non-debt what is net tax receipts? After giving the share to the states, whatever tax receipts the center have is called as net tax receipts, that is 28.7 lakh crore. So revised estimates, what we have is for the financial year 25 to 26, the center net tax receipts is 26.7 lakh crore. Right now what we are expecting? 28.7 lakh crore. Okay. So total expenditure before is 49. Now, what is the total expenditure that is estimated? 53.5 lakh crore. So, increase in the expenditure is happening. Capital expenditure is 11 lakh crore. Okay. So here, if we see in the capital expenditure right now, the government which the government fixed is 12.2 lakh crore is the capital expenditure. Comparatively, it increased. And if we see in 2014, the capital expenditure is around 2 lakh crore. Right now, it is 12.2 lakh crore. It has increased exponentially. And why it increased? Because government wanted to focus on economic growth, which need to be sustainable, which needs to be going on. And how this growth will come? When there will be expenditure in the infrastructure. So the focus is on creation of employment, creation of growth. So there is focus on demographic dividend and also employment or labor intensive industries and also creation of infrastructure. These are the basic themes in the present budget. And also there should be self-reliant in the critical emerging technologies where there can be supply chain disruptions, where there can be tomorrow entire economic situation will be in the collapse because of emerging technologies like AI, semiconductor, chips, electronics, rare earth metals. These are the basic areas through which the economy can come from. So government has allocated much amount of money in these sectors which it feels that it is important for the long-term growth. So basically the budget is focusing not just for short-term growth right now, it is focusing on the long-term growth. That is how the schemes are selected which will propel the long-term growth, not for the short-term growth. Okay. So already we have seen, so how much gross market borrowings are 17.2 lakh crore. Net market borrowings come to 11.7 lakh crore. What is net market borrowing? How much in the gross market borrowing, how much will go for if we remove the interest payments, borrowings that we do, and that will be utilized for the interest payments we need to pay for the period over the period of years. If we remove it, and whatever the money that we utilize freshly for the present schemes or present outlay of plans, that is what net market borrowings are for. Net market borrowings are for fresh financial year expenditure. Okay, that is around 11.7 lakh crore. So debt to GDP ratio is declined compared to the previous year. Previous year it is 56.1. Right now it is 55.6. The target is 50 plus or minus 1 by the year 2050. That is public debt to GDP ratio. Okay. Sorry. So total budget is approximately 53 lakh crore. Revenue from the disinvestment is negligible, that is less than 1%. So analysis of capital receipts and disinvestment. So revenue from the government disinvestment falls under other receipts within the capital receipts. This amount is negligible, that is 33,000 crore out of 49 lakh crore, which is less than 1%. So the primary component of capital receipts is borrowing, that is 16 lakh crore, not disinvestment. So we can see the figures here. Non-debt receipts, whatever we receive in the form of tax and non-tax revenues, are 36.5. Expenditure is 53.5. Net tax receipts the center will get are 28.7 lakh crore. The gross market borrowings are 17.2 and the net market borrowings are expected to be at 11.7 lakh crore. The revised estimates of non-debt receipts are 34 for the previous year. So these are the stats for the previous year. The fiscal deficit, this financial year 25 to 26. The fiscal deficit is expected to be around 4.3 for the budget estimates 26 to 27. In the revised estimates of the present financial year, that is 25 to 26, fiscal deficit has been estimated at par with 4.4. 4.4 and 4.3 very close. So debt to GDP ratio already we have discussed. These are primary things that we can take note of. So we don't need to worry how much lakh crores for the exam. We just need to know what is a fiscal deficit. What is the percentage of it, 4.3, 4.4, what are the targets of public debt to GDP ratio, 50, 53 or 55. These basic things if we have hold of. How much capital expenditure, 12.2 lakh crore. These 4 or 5, if we remember that, that will be very much sufficient for the exam. What we basically need to know is the trends. So these are the static thing regarding classification of budget. The revenue budget and capital budget. The revenue budget is where we spend money. Capital budget is where we invest. Okay. The revenue budget consists of revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. Capital budget capital budget deals with the expenditure. So within revenue budget there is tax revenue and non-tax revenue. Expenditure, it will be recurring expenditure, interest pay. Examples of this expenditure is, revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. Within expenditure, revenue receipts plus revenue expenditure within revenue budget. Okay, so within revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, there are capital expenditure deals with creation of roads, railways. Revenue expenditure deals with payment, subsidies, salaries, pensions, defense, which will be utilized, which will not create any assets. Okay, so the expenditure is incurred for the purposes other than creation of assets. This expenditure is non-recurring, incurred for asset creation, that is capital expenditure. Okay, this is revenue expenditure. Okay. Revenue receipts. What are revenue receipts? How much money the government is getting. One is tax revenue, another one is non-tax revenue. Tax revenue consists of GST, income tax, corporate tax, custom duty, excise duty. Non-tax revenue are interest receipts, dividends, profits, external grants and user charges. Okay, then capital receipts, they can be by borrowing, that are debt receipts which create liability in the future. One is market borrowings. Non-debt receipts are disinvestment and recovery of loans. This thing we need to know for the prelims exam. Okay, revenue budget and capital budget. Revenue receipts, what consists of revenue receipts, what consists of revenue expenditure, what are non-debt receipts, what are debt receipts. Debt receipts are market borrowings. This basic table we need to understand, and this is what we have discussed in the terms of figures before. Okay, this is very important for the exam. So what is fiscal deficit? Total expenditure minus total receipt. We are in the fiscal deficit. How much borrowings we are taking? Because fiscal deficit 53 lakh crore we wanted to spend. How much we are getting in the 53 lakh crore? 53.5. We are getting only 36.5. How much we are going to borrow? Gross market borrowings will be are estimated at 17.2 lakh crore. That is where the fiscal deficit of the present year is. So the fiscal deficit of the present year is 17.2 lakh crore. Revenue deficit is within revenue. Revenue expenditure, where the money is expended without creation of assets, where the money is coming from. Revenue budget and revenue expenditure. So what is revenue deficit? If the expenditure is more than whatever we are getting, that is called as revenue deficit. Whatever is financed through without whatever is financed through without proper receipts, That is revenue deficit. Then effective revenue deficit means within revenue deficit, it means how much ever we are borrowing. Within that, if we remove whatever we are doing the expenditure for creation of capital assets, whatever we are borrowing and we are spending for day-to-day expenses is called as effective revenue deficit, because in future they will not create any assets. So what does it mean? We should basically target effective revenue deficit that should be declining, and it is declining. Okay. So here, see here the trends. We can see the trends here. Revenue receipts on the increasing trend. Capital receipts increasing. Total receipts are also increasing, but expenditure is also increasing. Effective capital expenditure increased to 17 lakh crore. Okay. Revenue deficit, that is also increasing. Effective revenue deficit is 99,000 crore. Fiscal deficit is again increasing. Primary deficit is also in the almost in the same manner. So these are the trends that we need to take a hold of from the past few years with respect to the expenditure, deficits and revenues. So if you see the trends, fiscal deficit is declining 6.5 to 4.3 and 4. Revenue deficit is also declining, but it is still there. Revenue deficit is there. The primary deficit is also declining. Effective revenue deficit is also declining. These are the trends. Primary deficit is declining. Effective revenue deficit for the borrowings that we take for daily expenses is also declining. It means more borrowings are basically used for capital expenditure. Capital receipts increased, revenue receipts also increased. Capital receipts increased from the 24 to 25. Revenue receipts are also expected to increase. Effective capital expenditure 13.2, present year 14, 17.1 is a effective capital expenditure. It means capital expenditure is increasing. 17.1. Revenue expenditure is 36, 39. It declined in the 25 to 26. Again, revenue expenditure is increasing. Expenditure of major items in different sectors. Transport sector, most of the allocation is done for expenditure. Then defense, rural development, home affairs, agriculture, education, energy, health, urban development and IT, telecom. There are few more sectors, but we can't remember more than 5. So at least try to remember 5 to 8 sectors where we are allocating money. So the more money is allocated for transport, that is infrastructure, defense, rural development, home affairs, agriculture, allied activities, education, energy, health, urban development, IT and telecom. Okay, so understand that more is invested in the infrastructure. Second one is defense. Third is rural development, then for the security, then for the agriculture, then comes education. So this is what the trend is. And infrastructure, transport basically falls under manufacturing sector. Then for the defense, then the third comes rural development, like schemes like MGNREGA which has been removed. Then there is VBG Ramji bill. For that we can have the allocation. Then for security purpose, home affairs, in order to maintain law and order. Then agriculture and allied activities. Agriculture is still the backbone for the economy, and it still plays a huge role in sustaining even the manufacturing sector. So agriculture. Then comes education, energy, health, urban development, IT and telecom. Services sector. Okay, that is also still important. So this is again more important for the exam, where the rupees is coming from. Suppose if the government is spending, getting 1 rupee, in the 1 rupee, how much, or if the government is getting 100 rupees, from which areas that 100 rupees are coming from? If the government is spending 100 rupees, what chunk of money the government is allocating to which sector? Okay, time? 215. See here, borrowings and liabilities. This is a basic common thing, because we know that most of the expenditure where the money is coming from is through the borrowings. Apart from borrowings and liabilities, basically it is telling whatever we are doing as an expenditure, most of the money is coming from the borrowings than we receive as the income or the receipts. Okay, but if we take it aside, okay, because we are ourselves telling there is fiscal deficit, it means we are running on taking the loans or the borrowings from the market. But whatever money we are getting in that, how much we are getting from which kind of component. One is corporation tax, more important. Then, sorry, not corporation tax. Most is coming from income tax. Then corporation tax. Then we have GST. After GST, it is non-tax revenues, then excise duties, customs and debt receipts. See here, in the 2025 estimates, most is coming from the income tax. Now also it is income tax, but in the 25 estimates and 25 revised estimates, most of the money is coming from GST. In 25 it changed to corporation. Now also corporates are paying more taxes, businesses are paying more taxes than that of GST. Then there comes the GST in the as a third component. So most of the money presently in the budget estimates is basically coming from income tax, corporation tax, GST. GST, excise duty, customs, imports and exports. So these are the 5 areas through which the taxes are coming from in the descending order. Okay, income tax, corporation tax, GST, excise duty and customs. These are the order in which the money is coming to India in the form of taxes. Apart from borrowings, borrowings are much more than that of receipts that we get. That is when we say there is fiscal deficit. I hope it is clear. Then we have the rupees that are going to. The rupees that are going to are the states. The rupees that are going to are states taking more number of share, that is 22%. Then after 22, there is more money that is going to interest payment. More money then is going for central sector schemes. So for interest payments, we are spending more money. For taxes, we are giving, for states, we are giving the state's share of taxes, that can create revenue, or that they can do revenue expenditure or state expenditure. But for some purpose, the money is going for the states in the form of devolution. But for the Apart from that, there is more interest payments than that of allocation of money for the schemes, whether it is revenue or capital expenditure schemes. So central sector schemes, next after interest payment, central sector schemes are paying a huge role. Then centrally sponsored schemes take the hit. Then at the same time, apart from after central sector schemes, there is huge expenditure on defense. So first is state's share of taxes, then is interest payments, huge chunk of money is going for interest payments, then central sector schemes, then the defense, then there comes centrally sponsored schemes. After that, there are finance commission transfers and other expenditures for the government. Then there are major subsidies as well as pensions. So these are the areas in which the money which the government earned, that 100 rupees, where it is coming from and where it is going to. And most of the subsidies that the center gives, one is food subsidy, fertilizer subsidy and petroleum subsidy. These are same for the previous year and also the present year. Okay. So food, fertilizer, petroleum, these are the order of the subsidies. Most of the subsidies, that is 6%. In the subsidies, most of the subsidy is food subsidy, then fertilizer subsidy, then petroleum subsidy. This is what the government gives. These are the basic facts that we need to remember for the exam, prelims exam. Then the commission pushes, the 15th Finance Commission basically says that this rationalization of subsidies should be there, especially in the states. There should be sunset clauses for the schemes. So if the scheme is not implemented properly or the funds are not utilized, there should be withdrawal of the scheme. If the scheme is not implemented properly, there should be specific time period for the scheme. Then only funds will be utilized. It's every scheme need to have particular time frame and the targets and the money that should be spent. Everything need to be budgeted properly so that the money can be allocated more for the other schemes. If the schemes are not implemented, if there is time frame for every scheme, and if there is a goal, target, achievable goals that will be fixed for every scheme, then the allocation of resources will be good and it will be better. Already resources are less. Okay, so states need to basically do all these things. Closure of loss-making PSUs. There are nearly, according to the Finance Commission, there are 330 loss-making PSUs, whether it is the central sector controlled or the state controlled PSUs, Maharatna, Mini Ratna. There are many classifications. There are 330 and the center need to find a way to close these loss-making PSUs. Then so it is like a disinvestment. Then outcome-based budgeting. Outcome-based budgeting means whatever are the assets or revenue that is created out of a particular scheme, or what is the potentiality to create a grassroots level effect, positive outcomes in the terms of capabilities of people, in the terms of improvement in the livelihoods of people, not just structures or infrastructure created. It is not just how many roads that are built or how many roads that are functional, how much revenue that the road is generating, how many people are getting passed out by creating a particular school. These should be the metrics, these should be the outcomes, and based on that there should be allocation for particular sector. It is not allocation for all the sector just based on the structures created, but it is based on the outcomes, how much they are meaningful for the GDP creation or the growth creation is the criteria. Real-time monitoring of disaster funds, that also need to be done by the center as well as the state, so that the money that is allocated will go to the people who are affected through disasters. Better fiscal transparency need to be maintained. How much borrowings the states are taking, how much extra borrowings the states are taking. Apart from borrowings, what are unquoted borrowings that the states are taking, from which entities they are taking, whether they are floating the instruments from for the other international institutions or other countries or RBI, what kind of finances they are getting. They need to be very transparent. States must be transparent. What kind of disinvestments they are doing, This also is recommended by the 16th Finance Commission. Okay. Then we have tax proposals, Financial Bill 2026. No change in the income tax slabs. There is no change in the income tax slabs. Whatever income tax that is levied on the people earning 4 to till 4 lakh, there is no tax slab. 4 to 8 lakhs, there is certain percentage in the previous year. The same tax slabs will continue. As I have told you, the basic idea of union budget is to create schemes for the long-term growth, not to create short-term bouts of energy in the economy. All the major reforms that the government has they have already started even before the presentation of budget, for GST rationalization, tax cuts, the new tax slabs the government that introduced, and there is also the labor reforms that are introduced even before the GST. So there are no some no reforms that are newly taken up, but the budget, the present budget has laid out a plan to basically iron out certain speculations in the future options market, in the securities market. It has outlined majority of the money for the capital expenditure, majority of money for the rare minerals or the present sectors like biomedical sector, pharma sector, like manufacturing, electronics sector, textile sector, which is labor intensive, to use demographic dividend. And almost the government have stressed on continuing these schemes. It means there is continuity, and lot of this tax in the financial bill, the main tax proposals that it has done is also like how much tax it is going to levy on the stock markets, how much tax it is going to deduct for the people, for the corporations, how much tax it is going to levy for the individuals. These are going to continue for a longer period of time. That promise have done while giving the budget speech. It means that these changes are not just for the present year. They are focusing for the longer term period in order to create why this long term certainty is basically stressed in almost every scheme, and also tax cuts, is to make investors feel to invest in India. There will be no uncertainty in the future in the next near 4 or 5 years. There's a long term, it is part of long term planning. But what we need to remember is government now from last 2-3 years, it is not focusing on giving medium term targets for how to maintain fiscal responsibility and budgetary management act, what are medium term goals that the government is going to, or medium term plans or the roadmap the government is going to have in order to maintain the fiscal deficit. That we need to remember as a part of FRBM, where the government is missing. That is one of the suggestions that the economic survey is doing. Apart from that, entire budget is for long term vision, or not just for the period of this particular financial year. So apart from this, there are tax holidays and incentives that are given for the foreign companies offering cloud services using Indian data center. This is more important. Here there are nearly 10 reforms that we have. We will discuss those 10 for present class now. See here, tax holidays and incentives. See, most of our Indian companies, service sector companies, whether it is the startups in the service sector or the big manufacturing companies, they actually secure their data using the cloud services given by certain cloud companies like Meta, Google, Oracle. these cloud services are very important to save the data, to maintain the data. As we know, every company, whether it is services or manufacturing, they run based on the data. They create money based on the data. They create products based on the data. So data is going to be more important. And who are maintaining this data? There are less Indian companies who will maintain the data. And moreover, there need to be a lot of data centers that should be created in India. Data infrastructure, servers, data centers need to be created within India. So we don't have that data centers. So where the data is going to get stored in the cloud, but where these companies are, who maintains the cloud, that is, these companies are foreign companies from other countries like Microsoft, Google, Meta, Oracle, AWS, that is one cloud service platform. So all these foreign companies, if they come to India, and most of these foreign companies, they basically set up their data centers in other countries like Hong Kong, in other countries like Singapore, in countries like Dubai, because they give lot of tax holidays and incentives. In India, taxes are huge. So the present budget basically tells that there will be tax holiday for the foreign companies who want to come create data infrastructure, data centers within India. And they need to provide services through an Indian company. They cannot provide services directly to Indian customers. They can create data, they can give their services via a Indian company. When they do that, it means that there is lot of inflow of FDI coming to India. There will be infrastructure created within India, and lot of this data is secured within the four walls of the country. It means the data will not, the sensitive data of people or businesses will not get stored in outside of the country just because these companies are based in the other countries. So if they come to India, the data will be secured within India. So there is more impetus given to data localization and security. At the same time, involving these companies to create infrastructure within India by giving tax holidays is also making the FDI come to India or FII come to India, and also making Indian company to be in between the Indian customer and this foreign cloud service is one of the thing which will make these companies also profitable, plus at the same time there will be security through the Indian company where the services are provided for the customers. The customers can be people, the customers can be companies or the startups also. So this is what is the idea behind tax holidays and incentives. So tax holidays for these foreign companies who offer the cloud services by providing Indian data centers, creating data centers within India, is extended from 10 years to 20 years. And tax holiday for IFSC, International Financial Service Center, that is created in Gujarat, Gandhinagar, that is called as Gift City, where lot of international institutions wanted. The Gift City is created in order to make lot of international institutions come and create their offices in India. Many international banks or international insurance companies, international trading platforms which provide lot of finance for many global companies, they are situated outside India. It means if a company within India, whether it is a foreign company or Indian company, if they want to get the revenue, they need to go to other countries and they need to put their stocks, they need to get large chunks of loan by going to other countries in order to get the loan from other big corporations or big banks. They need to move out of the country. It means Indian capital, it is also moving away from India to other countries in order to make the profits. It means Indian capital is not present within India. So the idea of Gift City is to make these larger infrastructure, big corporations, big companies, big financial companies like insurance companies, big global banks, the big trading, the trade exchanges, just to make big financial investors come to India, set up their offices here and make Indian companies accessible to global finances, make Indian companies accessible to global financial instruments, and also secure the FDI. Even other countries and their companies can come to India for doing the same kind of businesses. And we know that Asian markets, capitals are based on the financial hubs. It is to create a financial hub within India, just like Singapore and Hong Kong being the major financial markets for people to find out big capital, for the people to invest more, for the global companies to invest more within Asia. It is to create that kind of ecosystem within India. So in order to do that, these companies, these big large corporations or large banks need to come to India, set up their offices within the gift city. So how they will do it? They'll do it but when the government provide incentives. So incentives are the main for even the domestic sector or domestic manufacturing or creation of domestic businesses, even for the foreign also. So lot of tax holidays, even the other countries also do the same thing. There will be tax holidays. So tax holidays are extended to 10 to 20 years. Offshore banking units are the same as I have discussed with you. Offshore banking units are the ones who give loans for the any global financial banks, which will give finances for Indian companies who are not present within India, who are based out of India. For them also, if they set up their units within India, Indian companies need not go outside. Capital will not be mobilized outside. Capital will be utilized within the country. And we know a lot of capital is required for the economic growth. And where this capital is coming from? Capital is coming from loans. Capital is coming from the government. Capital is coming from the RBI. Many people take the loans. And in the loans, the government will take lot of loans for expenditure. It means private people, private companies, private larger corporations also require money in order to do businesses. For them, the availability of money is less. This is what the crowding out effect is. So in order to address this crowding out effect, the budget have addressed lot of things, have created lot of schemes in order to solve this problem. How? By encouraging corporate bond market, by encouraging the trading in derivatives, which we will discuss now. Okay, so tax holidays, all these things are to create, are to make the capital to be within the country. Okay. And they levy lot of fees also. It means lot of money is going outside of the country. And if they get created, these kind of institutions get created within India, India will also become a fintech capital, financial technology capital. And there will be lot of revenues that will be created after 20 years for the country and also for the people. So after the holiday period also, the gift city income will be taxed at a concessional rate. Even after tax holiday, there will be concessions at 15%. It means after 20 years, they will not be levied so huge. That is what the long-term guarantee that the budget is giving for the big companies, foreign companies. Then taxation of share buybacks. This is very important. What is a share buyback? Most of the companies, when they float their financial instruments in the primary market, what the companies will give for the investors is dividends. And when the investors are getting the dividends annually, quarterly, or 3 months or half yearly, if they are getting, they need to pay certain tax for the government. Okay, it means whatever the companies are giving as a interest or a profit in the form of dividend for the investors, if the tax is getting reduced, it means the people also will try to rationalize where to invest. So in order to garner more investments, what is other way that the big corporations have done is they try to institutionalize an other way, that is share buyback. It means if a person is buying 10 shares, the company after few months it will say, we are ready to buy back 2 shares out of 10 shares what you have. If you are interested, please give or sell your shares to us. That is buyback of the shares. Before, till now, the government did not levy any duty or tax on the buyback of the shares. This is what the advantage most of the companies have started taking. It's not just one company. All the companies started to incentivize the investors, saying that we will float the buyback. It means it is not all the shares what they buy, they will buy back. That is not how it works. They need the working capital. But if there is a situation that they don't require money in the near future, and it can be stabilized by buying back a particular share, or if they anticipate huge profits for themselves, they will float a buyback. It means they'll buy the shares from the people who they have, they'll buy the shares from the people who from the people who they have sold the shares and taken the money. Okay, when they are buying back, it means the company will give the money and take the share back, and they'll be the owners of the share. And most of the people who will buy back these shares are corporate promoters of the company and non-promoters of the company. Only these people will be huge chunk who will buy back within the corporate sector. So people who are buying back right now, whether it is promoters or non-promoters, if it is non-promoters, there is more additional levy. If it is promoters, there is additional levy. If it is the origin, if it is a company itself, there is also a levy, there is also a tax on that. But before, there is no tax. Now, if the company is buying the shares, that company, while buying the share from the investor or the shareholder, the tax will be deducted from now. Before, it was not there. It is only on the dividend there will be the tax cut, that is GST cut on the dividend. Whatever the dividend returns the company is giving for a particular investor, on that there will be tax cut. But from now, it is not just dividends. Even while selling the share, while the investor is selling the share for the company, for the same company from which he have bought, even for that there will be taxation. Why the government has done it? Because most of the companies are going on this route, and the government needs revenue, and government need to get the taxes. It is not just all the companies will utilize the other way around in order to be tax evasive by not going in the dividend path. That is the buyback of the shares. If the company is doing, there will be what tax? Capital gains tax. Who will pay the tax first? Initially, the company will pay. That is tax deduction at source. Later, the money will be deducted at the end of the investor. If the investor is getting 100 rupees return and the face value of the instrument he bought is 100, it is 200 he is getting. Before, if he is selling this share to the original company, there is no tax. Now, what it is, whether it is buyback or whether it is dividend, he need to pay the tax to the government. Now, if that buyback is done by the corporate promoter himself, there is 22% levy. If it is done by non-corporate promoter, there is 30% levy. So, there is tax collection in this also. There is no tax evasion that can be done by using buyback shares. Then increase in the securities transaction tax. See, lot of investors, India has become the largest secondary trading market. Lot of people sell shares, buy shares, and there is security transaction tax that is levied, which is increased. It is there before also. It is increased. For what it is increased? For options and for futures. It means before, there are many big funds called as hedge funds who will manage the money that the larger investors, larger corporations, larger families hold, thousands of crores of money. So they don't know where to invest money. When they are investing money, it means they used to aggressively invest large chunks of money in different kinds of shares in the secondary market using the hedge funds. It means they used to take a lot of riskier options, and they have the potential to even dictate the market. And sometimes they use certain derivatives like futures and options. Futures means if a particular hedge fund is saying, we will invest in these shares, and in tomorrow at a certain date we will try to buy back. We will buy back. That is a future option. Or we will sell back at a future date. There is a guarantee of buying or selling at a future date. If that instrument is used by a hedge fund, it is called as futures. Then what is options? Options is something where there is a choice. It means the hedge fund will say, we will pay certain amount of money for a platform holder or for the person who has the shares. If tomorrow after a certain date, if we feel, if the owner of the hedge fund or the manager or the brokers, if they feel that they will get the return, they can buy or they cannot buy. If there is a probability to buy, they will put in the options. That options can be two types. One is call option, second one is put option. Call means we can have the choice of buying at a future date through options market. If it is put option, we can sell at a future date. We are expecting the fall in the price of a particular share. So tomorrow we have a chance of selling of the share. So utilizing the put option, which is option itself, the hedge funds or the larger funds are utilizing this futures and options market. What is the difference between futures and options? Futures are compulsory buying or selling at a future date, which the hedge funds promised to do. Options means whatever the hedge funds try to do, whether it is call option, that is buying option, or put option, which is selling option, at a future date, they can do it or might not do it, but they pay certain amount of money or certain amount of margins. That is basically very volatile. It can sometimes crash the market also. Okay, and it is basically this entire ecosystem of futures and options are derivative kind of market in the secondary market. Basically, why it is created? In order to run the wealth or in order to put the money to use. Okay, but what is happening right now, even the smaller investors who don't have big amount of money are want to make quick profits. So they are also involving in the futures and options kind of volatile markets where there is lot of speculation, and speculative market is going on, and it can create lot of damages to markets also, like share markets also. It can create lot of volatility. It can lead to sudden falls and sudden highs. Lot of risk is involved. Okay, so that is the reason why the government want to discourage this particularly volatile trading, that is in the futures and options, which is originally for larger funds like hedge funds. And there is one thing in the budget which is discussed called as algo trading or black box trading. What is this? There will be systems, AI systems that will be created. There will be data feeding in the systems. If a particular price of a share for a particular company is falling by this percentage, next day invest this much. There will be pre-programming of investing and selling of the shares within a technology-enabled infrastructure. No person taking the financial decision, computer itself taking the decision, taking the funds, putting the money in the buying or selling. That is algorithmic trading, which is good, which requires a lot of good AI-related infrastructure, because here AI is taking the decision, which is algorithmic trading. No person is taking the decision, no financial person or individual is taking decision here, but it also lead to a lot of risks. So SEBI want to control this algorithmic trading as well. So in order to discourage this kind of things, and SEBI wanted to not just discourage algorithmic trading, it wanted to add extra layers of security to algorithmic trading. It is to make it risk free. That is what SEBI is trying to regulate it, not just curb algorithmic trading, that we need to remember. But in order to reduce this options and futures, 0.15, you might think these are not huge changes. Before it is 0.10, 0.125, 0.02 to 0.05. These are different types of taxes that are levied on options exercised and futures. But when a person is buying shares in huge amounts, if a person can buy 100 shares, 1000 shares like that if they have huge money. On that, on each share, this much amount of tax will be levied. So it will be huge when overall amount of shares if we take into consideration. So it will disincentivize people to invest in these kind of instruments. Okay, so these are some of the important tax reforms that are done in the budget. Later what we have is restrictions on mutual fund, MAT, foreign assets disclosure, and there are a lot of things like agriculture, manufacturing. We'll discuss in the tomorrow's session of Union Budget. This is a part 1 of Union Budget. We'll discuss in the next session. Thank you. అది ఎండ్ చేయరా అయిపోయిందా లైవ్ టైం ఎంత